I think, if I'm not mistaken, there is a little bit of a situation going on with our friends up
To
north.
the north.
Do you want to get into that a little bit before we go ahead and get out of here?
Of course, what kind of podcast would we be if we did not try to capitalize on this situation?
What kind of show would we be if we didn't mention our bitter rivals just doing absolutely nothing illegal or anything wrong like they claim? Um,
Well, I
what?
mean, if you ask Dave Portnoy, he will definitely tell you that. Um,
Well, you know, I don't know. It appears to me that this is a situation, and I've said it before. We talked about it on Wednesday. John Ross and I did, or excuse me, Friday. John Ross and I did, about the whole situation. So, if you have been living under a rock, I doubt any of you that are watching have not seen any of this. But Michigan dealing with a pretty important sign stealing scandal here that has gone, I think, way deeper than Michigan fans even want to realize or admit. Um, Michigan is locked in, a series of issues with the NCAA involving Jim Harbaugh and that program up
mhm.
north that likes to stand on their moral high ground all the time and point fingers and point out the wrongdoings of their opponents. And now it appears that that glass house has been shot at with a lot of rocks that seem to be breaking that glass house all
Mhm.
around that moral high ground that they try so hardly and desperately to preserve there. So, what do you think? What do you think about all that's going on in Michigan right now?
Well, so let's make sure we're very clear here that the sign stealing is not illegal.
Mm-hmm.
If it is being done in game, no one cares that that happens because it literally happens with every game, and every team looks at across the field and tries to figure out signs from their opponent.
Mm-hmm.
The issue here is the advanced scouting, which is illegal. And Ohio State got a clarification on this last year as well because they wanted to advance scout in person potential semifinal matchups, or they essentially wanted to scout the other semifinal. So Michigan TCU, they wanted to scout that. They clarified with the NCAA before they did it. The NCAA said, "Yeah, that's fine. You're allowed to in-person scout at bowl games." Okay, cool. Now that we've established that, you're not allowed to in-person scout during the regular season. This is where the issue comes in. And I think that with the evidence that's out there, they are not looking very good. Um, and they should probably understand the fact that they're probably going down for this. Connor Stallions did not act alone. It's a lot of money to put up to send people to 30 plus Big Ten games over the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, plus pay these people. I think they were talking like $300-400 a person per game. So he didn't act alone.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've also got this other investigation that's going on with Matt Weiss, who was their offensive coordinator, who was fired overnight back in December of 22 for alleged computer crimes. Nobody knew anything about it, what was going on. Sounds like he was doing that to essentially get nudes, steal people's nudes. And it's like, the heck's going on there? But it also has people thinking, well, what else were they doing there? Were they? Was he a part of the alleged theft of practice film? Another illegal thing. That apparently some Michigan staffer got Ohio State's video coordinators login to steal their practice film, and were advanced scouting that way. So, it's not like this is that. A lot of people only see the surface of what's actually going on here. There's a lot of things at play, and I think that if it comes out that this is actually what happened, it's a really bad look, especially for a fan base like you were saying that all they do is try to stand on the moral high ground and tell you how good of people they are. In my experience, most people that tell you how good they are and how high of morals that they have, those are usually the people that have the lowest and are the worst people on the face of the earth. So I'm not saying that that's the case, but typically in the world that we live in, if somebody tells you how good they are at something, they're likely not that good at that. And they're trying to make up for it. So I think my message to the Michigan fans here is try to take a step back and look at it through an objective lens and say, does what's been presented make sense? If it does, then make your educated opinion based on that. And if it doesn't line up, say what doesn't line up, because there's a lot of people out here that just continue to say, "Oh, you can steal signs. Sign stealing's not illegal." Right? It's not. But that's not the point. Look at it and stop deflecting. Tell us what you actually think those people what doesn't add up. And that's really my thoughts on it. It's a wild situation, and I don't think it's going to be resolved until after this football season. And no, I do not think the last 2 years that was the reason why Ohio State lost. Could it have been a contributing factor? Yes. Is that the reason why Ohio State lost? No.
I obviously don't think that that's the sole reason why Ohio State lost those games the last 2 years. However, what I think Michigan fans fail to look past, and, for a lot of things, I think, a lot of sports and fandom is a lot of wishful thinking. It's a lot of, hope. It's, that's kind of what comes from sports is just the hope that your team is going to play well, the hope that your team is going to be good, the hope that your team is going to play for championships. Michigan has not played for any championship, Big Ten championships or what have you, consistently in a very long time. I think really when you stand back and look at the scope of all of this, if you look at the recruiting from, the time that Jim got there and the teams that he had, in my opinion, I think the best Michigan team during Jim's tenure was the Revenge Tour team.
Yeah.
And that team got beat soundly at Ohio Stadium. And when you look at stuff like that, that was by far Jim's most talented team at Michigan. The recruiting has not taken a sizable jump in the last 4 or 5 years. And now all of a sudden you have one of the top statistical total defenses in college football on a consistent basis. You are a back-to-back Big Ten champion. You are a back-to-back college football playoff participant. Um,
Did they win any of those games?
those things start to add up. No, they did not win any of those games in the college football playoff, nor have they won a bowl game since Jim Harbaugh has been there. So, which is another thing that kind of where they get this weird attitude as if they are somehow the best program in college football all of a sudden on the backs of all this stuff is kind of weird. But we'll leave that part of the conversation for a different day. But I think what it boils down to here is there has not been a spike in the talent at Michigan to back up the improvement that they've had. Their coaching staff isn't great as much as their fans like to make it out to be.
I got to push back on that one a little bit. Jesse Minter, really good.
Top to bottom, though. Top to bottom.
Yeah, no, I agree. Their coordinators are pretty good now.
Right.
They have leveled that up in the last couple of years. But I'm with you. Their coaching staff as a whole is not the same as Ohio State's, nor is the talent top to bottom as good as Ohio State's.
And so that's, I think the point that I'm trying to make there is exactly that. Like the talent hasn't changed to a point where you would expect the jump from play in Michigan. And I think, where there's smoke in that program around, their head coach, I think there's a fire. And I think there's a reason why he's been looking at the NFL every offseason for the last 4 years. I think, since he's gotten there, he's had several run-ins with rules violations with the NCAA. And that stuff adds up. And you get away with some things, or you get minor infractions for some things. You get a slap on the wrist and you move on. And I think, the more that he's tried to tightrope the rules, the more he's put himself in this position. And, which brings up another thing. You have a guy that is willing to bend the rules, break the rules now that we've seen. And you have a fan base that's saying free Harbaugh, like he's not doing anything wrong. And it's like, all this stuff that is being done, if the shoe were on the other foot and it was Ohio State, they'd call for Ryan Day to be fired 7 weeks ago.
They're still, hold on, they are calling for Ryan Day to be fired right now because they think that Ryan Day had some part in this investigation, which he did not. And everything that's going around in the last 24 hours, which has been hilarious. Sam Webb reported that Ryan Day's brother was involved with one of these investigative firms, which is a total lie, and was a troll by someone, by another podcaster online, joking about this in a podcast. What was it, Thursday or Friday? And it was Zach Smith, and he was joking about it because Ryan Day's brother is an FBI agent, and so he was like, "Yep, Ryan Day's involved. Feds were involved with this Matt Weiss thing. Now it's all making sense, And then last night, Sam Webb writes about this, and it had Twitter in a frenzy, which was hilarious because it's completely fabricated and has nothing to do with any of this, but they're just so gullible to think that Ryan Day is behind this. And that's sad. You really think that Ryan Day would want to take down a bitter rival like this? No, you take him down on the field. Ryan, this isn't some action movie or, fake sports movie that the other coach is going to do whatever it takes and commit fraud and whatever. No, come on. Ryan Day has nothing to do with this. But if someone reached out to him and said, "Hey, do you know anything about this?" He might have said, "Yeah, here's what I saw."
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that he has any involvement in this either.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more so a situation where the walls around, like we said, the walls around Michigan's moral high ground are crumbling. We'll see what happens with the rest of that investigation and how that plays out. I think there's been a lot of sports books that have been advised to not put Michigan lines up, and what this really boils down to is preserving the integrity of the game and the product that's put on the field, and especially when you're talking about playing for championships of the sport, the highest trophy that the sport has to offer, then that's where the frustration comes in from the networks, from sports fans and things like that. So sign stealing is a part of the game if it's done organically inside of the game, but when it's being done in the manner that it is being alleged, and the evidence points to the way that it's been done in Michigan, then that's where the issue comes in. So um, you know interesting to see what's going on there. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but that doesn't overshadow what happened last night. Ohio State a 24-10 winner over Wisconsin in Camp Randall. The Buckeyes continue to try and reach towards that undefeated championship season. The story goes on. The next chapter will be written next week. Any final thoughts here?
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks, undefeated as it sits. The best part about 8-0, Vince?
Chance to go 9-0.
Let's go. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks.